musical as Hamilton is, and as much as it speaks to American history and current events, there's a big part of Alexander Hamilton's legacy that is not included. And it's a little bit of the backstory to what we talked about yesterday, kind of pre, 1933, what set the stage for what happens. But I want to say that I saw the musical on Disney Plus, and I knew that this part of Hamilton's story, when he was Secretary of the Treasury, would not be included. This is so controversial and requires a little bit of angst about our monetary system to appreciate the story. But I think it's crucial for a new approach to FI. Welcome to the Fife movement. I'm your host, Amanda Neely. This is the only movement that helps our generation create our unique, feminine, and entrepreneurial path to financial independence. And you've been forewarned, this is a little fierce today. So first, let's go back to the Constitutional Convention, 1787. Alexander Hamilton is there. He's helping keep the convention moving. He's doing his part, and they come up to this the first draft of the Constitution included that the federal government had the right to create and issue money, right? Well, Alexander Hamilton helped keep that creation of paper money prohibited by the government, both state and federal. There was a writing around the time that where he wrote that he found paper money as, quote, in its nature repugnant with abuses and liable to be made the engine of imposition and fraud. So he thought, if you've got paper money, it's going to be abused, it's going to create fraud, all of these things. And so he was part of the vote that better than 4-1 passed the 10th Amendment, which keeps the power to create money in the hands of the people, not the government. In other words, the Constitution is pretty clear that government, state, federal, local, all of them should not create money. And from what we can tell, Hamilton was part of the 4-1 majority that helped make it this way. But then 3 years later, while Hamilton was Secretary of the Treasury, he seems to have a change of heart. Now, I know I change my mind sometimes. Politicians are allowed to change their minds too. This is a pretty abrupt change with what we see him doing. He writes these reports to Congress, and a couple of them. In one, he urges the establishment of a federal mint and the production of coins by the federal government. And with another one, he advocates the creation of the nation's central bank. This would be the nation's second central bank. The first one had already been started and failed. This would be the second. And Hamilton's case at this point, quoting from one of the reports, is that no society should succeed which did not unite the interest and credit of rich individuals with those of the state, end quote. From what I can tell, he was thinking, if we want this new nation of ours to be on par with all the other nations of the world and the great nations of Europe, we need to take the rich, the individuals that are in our nation and take their interests and align those with the state's interest. And so they created this bank. This national bank then loaned money to the government. We created the national debt for the first time, and he succeeded. In fact, the bank actually succeeded super well in that aim. But 20 years later, the charter came up to renew that bank's charter and right to exist. And Congress ended up deciding we're not going to renew its charter. And so the bank folded 20 years later. And when you looked at it, the 20 years after, in that time, it was the 42% of American savings just were confiscated, vanished. And the government had become like a plutocracy that was being controlled by the rich. I mean, Alexander Hamilton and these laws that were passed, they'd succeeded really well in aligning the interests of the rich with the interests of the state. And maybe They succeeded too well. At least that's what Congress at the time had said. You can decide for yourself. But that's not really the point here. The point is that, like, just like the musical says, this rise of a self-made immigrant to the rooms where it happened, right? It's an enticing tale. It's really inspiring. And wherever you land on Alexander Hamilton's economic policies, or maybe if you side more with Thomas Jefferson, who had very different beliefs about money, you have to admit that Hamilton changed history. I mean, can you imagine the United States without the American dollar? What I want you to take away from this and reflect on today is this. A lot can happen in a short period of time. Within Hamilton's lifetime, a new nation was born, a new currency, was created and has risen to the world stage. Today, we're living in a time of great transition. And I believe that you can help create even more change today. Who says we have to accept things as they are? I mean, the Federal Reserve hasn't always existed. The American dollar wasn't always the accepted currency. We can question everything and we can transform anything. So dream a little bit today about what you would like to see different. Maybe you add that to your vision board. Maybe you put it on your home screen. Just dream. You don't have to see the path toward it, but you can start to cultivate Hamilton's resolve to not throw your shot away at changing the world. And then after you dream a little bit, head on over to thefifemovement.com to learn more about how we can help you make that dream a reality. Thanks for joining me and connecting with the Fife Movement. As you go about your day, remember, wealth is coming your way. Your quest is to prepare to use it well. Be sure to subscribe to get more tips on how to prepare, and to connect with the community, with the movement, visit fifemovement.com. And if my gift has helped you today, please pay the gift forward by sharing this content with a friend. My gratitude in advance. To help this video be seen by more people, please hit the like button. And we invite your feedback in the comments as well.